Your journey can only begin when the self-doubts stop. The first step is harnessing your bravery within. Believing in you is your host, Sean D. Morris.
Hello and good day to you all. My name is Sean, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in to another Honorable Warrior episode on Bravery Within. Thanks so much for listening. You guys are amazing. You're continuing to make the podcast continue to grow. Thank you so much for that. Thanks for sharing everything. Always making sure that you're letting everybody know about the podcast and the episodes. That means the world to me. I also want to say thank you for writing in, letting me know that, hey, we're listening, we got questions, we want to be part of it. That means the world to me. I can't thank you enough for that. I never expected to have so many people listening to me, especially in 4 different countries. It's incredible. We're growing in the other countries and stuff there, you know, in the UK, which is wonderful. I've always wanted to go to Ireland. I've always wanted to go to Scotland, want to see the castles, want to meet some new people. That would be fantastic. Asia, Australia, and of course, you know, the United States. But it's incredible to hear all the people that are listening in to the podcast. I never expected anything like this, so I can't say thank you enough there for tuning in, and hopefully I continue to put out content that you guys like to listen to. And if you have any ideas or you have certain subjects you want me to talk about, please let me know about it. I would be more than happy to, and if I've got any kind of knowledge in those areas, then I'll make sure that I turn them into a podcast for you. And I'll let you know, hey, you wrote in, you told me about it, it's fantastic. So I'm really, really looking forward to it, continuing to hear from you guys. Today, what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to you about basically after a relationship and trying to figure out who you are. I was, with my ex-wife and stuff there, we were told 17 years we were all together. And it took a little bit to figure out, after we separated, who I was. So I thought today would be a good episode to talk about that. So, episode 10 is called Learning Who You Are Again. And as you're growing up, you're going through your teenage years and your young 20s and stuff there. Well, I'm not going to say how long ago that was there for me. A long time ago, let's be honest. You're establishing your traits, your personality, what you likes, what you dislikes. You're basically writing the book on who you are. And I got together with my ex-wife there when I was 18. And I spent 17 of those years with her. So for the most part, about half of my life, literally, I was with my ex-wife. And when you go through, when you spend so much time together with people, you start picking up their euphemisms. You start picking up their personality traits. Things start to mix. Even some of your laughs and even how you write. You start writing like your partner. And it's kind of weird, but if you didn't notice that before there, just sit down and think about it for a little bit, because I didn't pay attention to that either until I was about halfway through the relationship, and I started writing the way she did and kind of started picking up some of her traits and her personality quirks and different things there, which is good. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to, basically, you want to be with that person, so you're naturally going to pick up some of their traits and their euphemisms and how they do things. But when the relationship is over, it's like, okay, you don't really want to be that way anymore. And you have to try to figure out who you are again. Now, I know there's a lot of guys out there that are probably lucky enough. They're not like me. They were able to jump back into who they were, or maybe they never lost who they were. And that's fantastic. I envy you. It took me years to figure out who I was again. And because I'd gotten with my ex-wife so early in life, I don't know if I necessarily had a chance to become who I truly was. I mean, it takes quite a while to figure out who you are. And self-introspection is one of the toughest things I think that you'll ever do in your life. Actually going back and looking inside of you and learning who you are, what makes you you, your quirks, your idiosyncrasies, all of that stuff, that's hard. And then to actually have to go back and change that stuff, that I don't know if there's anything different. Like I said, I'm on a weight loss journey myself. I'm down around 240 pounds over the past 2 years. And that has been quite a stretch, and it's been very difficult. But I gotta admit, before I started, I had to get my mind into the right spot. Because I tried dieting for many, many years, many times, many different the fad diets and everything else there I went through in the hopes of losing the weight. But the trick that I learned with all of that is and it works here too for this episode, is your mental state, your mental health. I can't stress that enough there to make sure that you've got that going in the right direction. And that's probably why we have so many psychiatrists around here, because our minds aren't going in the right direction. And thank goodness we have them. They help us, give us the tools that we need to process pain, hurt, even joy. I mean, you still got to be able to process that. I mean, of course, that one's a little bit easier. Let's be honest here. But one thing that I learned is I had to get my mind in the right frame of mind, I guess is the best way of putting it. And I had to get rid of a lot of grudges. I had to get rid of a lot of bad feelings that I had been harboring for years. And once I started getting rid of those things and basically cleaning out the attic, I guess, getting everything out, the cobwebs out of my mind and the grudges and the hatred that I was holding on to. Once I started getting rid of that and purging that out of my system, I started to learn who I was. And when I started doing all of that, along with, because I've been divorced now for, oh my goodness, coming up on 14 years now. It took me a couple to figure out who I was. I'll be very honest. The first 6 months, I pretty much just wandered around after the divorce and I was just completely lost, trying to put the pieces back together, holding things together for my son, trying to keep things normal for him as much as we can, stick to a routine. But I had to figure out who I was. And I have to admit, that was probably the second hardest thing in the world that I've ever done. My weight loss journey has been difficult, making the changes, mental-wise, physical-wise, all the stuff that I'm going through. Having to make all those changes has been a lot. It's tough, and I'm not saying that I regret it in any way. I love the progress that I've made. The fat shaming has really slowed down. People aren't looking and going, ugh, as they walk by, or they make those really, really rude comments like, how can you stand to be that fat? Or, you can, cut back on that plate of food, or just the normal comments that go along with it. And it goes along the same way with after getting a divorce. You have to, or a breakup. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a divorce. If you're with somebody for years, your personalities naturally merge. You start picking up things that they do. If you're really keyed in on your partner, you're going to really mix together quite well. And that's part of the fun of being in a relationship is all of that stuff comes together. You start finishing each other's sentences. You can even start the sentences. You can look across the room and just look at the person, and they know exactly what you mean, or if they need you to do something, or you just start picking up on all those silent cues, and it's really, really neat. So when you lose that after a long relationship, it's kind of like you lose your arm, lose your left arm. It's you feel kind of handicapped for a little bit until you figure out, who am I? And that's what I had to basically go back and teach myself and learn after my divorce. And I've talked to a few other guys and stuff there as they've ended relationships and they've tried to move on. They say that's one of the toughest things that they've had to go through is relearn who they were, and try to establish who they are, because you do lose yourself in a relationship because you intermix with your partner, which is a beautiful thing, honestly. That's, and in some ways I miss that. You miss having somebody there. You miss, when they know when you're having a bad day, or they know how to pick you up, or the right thing to say. And when you don't have that stuff anymore, you have to do it all on your own. And you have to find ways around that, and it can be very, depressing at times, because it's kind of like, okay, what am I missing? There's just so many things that can go along with it. So relearning who you are, it takes time, and I think it's something that us men, it comes down to feelings again, of course. It comes down with some very powerful emotions, because a lot of times after you end a relationship, there's a lot of anger, sadness, hatred, depression. There's so many strong, powerful emotions that go right along with it. And we're taught, basically, especially in my area, we're taught not to deal with them. Just compartmentalize them, lock them away, just act like nothing ever happened and move on. And I couldn't tell you how many times I was told, just, shut your face and move on. And it's like, sometimes it just doesn't work that way. So to try to figure it out, and basically I didn't know where to turn after my divorce. I just started turning to anything that I could. So I jumped on my computer and would do what pretty much all of us do, is you go to Google, because Google has all the answers, of course. And I started to figure out, okay, who is Sean? What makes me me? And I had to really sit down, and I've said in podcasts before, I sat down with a list and I wrote down my likes and my dislikes, trying to figure out who am I, to give myself a good platform to jump off of. And one of the things that, and I've known for a long time, and I didn't know what it completely meant, is I knew I was a Taurus. I knew I'm stubborn, I'm very bullheaded, I'm very strong-willed, but I'm also very forgiving in many aspects. And a Taurus is anyone who has a birthday between April 20th and May 20th. And the Taurus is basically an earth sign. You got air, earth, fire, and water. Taurus is an earth sign, which means they're very, very grounded. And that's what a lot of people like having like a Taurus friend for, is because we keep you very grounded. We don't let you float off and do your own thing. When the times when you just think things are out of control, the best part is I've had so many people that will come back to me and I can reground them again, because we're very dependable, very hardworking. We're very dedicated to our friends, especially to our families, and stubborn goes right along with it. And my whole family will be the first one to tell you that I'm extremely stubborn. I'm very strong-willed. I know what I want and I know where I'm going. But I always try to be very, very kind and forgiving, understanding from somebody else's point of view as much as I possibly can. But we can be a handful. But if you want somebody that's going to be there for you in times, bad times, good times, you want somebody to sit with you when the whole world is falling in around you, then you're going to want to get yourself a Taurus friend, because we have a tendency there to be able to cut through all the bad stuff and just get down to where you need us and be there for you. So some of the characteristic, there's positives and there's negatives. And now, I'm not saying that you're a Taurus by any means. You would have to just go and, a lot of you may know. And some of the things that I'm going to be talking about today, you're probably going to think, okay, I don't believe in this stuff. And that's okay. But once you start, if you need to go back and learn who you are, this is a great place. And I went back, and for the most part, I went to the stars to figure out, okay, who's Sean? Who am I? I'm lost. I mean, I need to reestablish myself. I'd been with my ex for so many years, and I'd pretty much lost who I was, so I didn't really have any place to turn to. So I went to the stars, and that's why I started, and I'm starting out, and I'm saying I'm a Taurus. You have to look up what your birthday is. You may be a Sagittarius or a Capricorn or an Aries or whatever it is, whatever sign of the zodiac that you are. But once you start digging in and start reading about your characteristics and what makes you you, this is a great place to start. It actually, when I started going through, and I've got where my desk is here and stuff here, I have a file cabinet that's right beside my desk, and I have got hanging folders in there of lots and lots and lots of them on all of this stuff, on what is a Taurus and what is the moon phases, and I've got all of these things, my life path number, and trying to figure out who I was. And I spent probably 6 months to a year digging into all of this stuff to figure out who I was. And I always thought that I was really, really hard to peg, hard to not, keep basically. Nobody will ever figure me out. That's just the way it is. And once I started going through and started learning about my sign, being a Taurus, it scared me. Because it's like, okay, I really do follow what they're saying. They describe me perfectly, and it was like, well, that's not fair. How am I supposed to know who I am? But you still are. You still have your personality. You still are you. But these are the traits typically that go along with what makes you you. And some of the positive traits for like a Taurus, and like I said, you're going to have to look up your own sign and figure out what they are. And there's lots and lots of information out on the internet for it. And there's a lot of good people that put out information, which is fantastic there. And I don't just take one website's information as that's everything. I look up several different sites, and then I compare the information to make sure that it's relevant and it's correct to the best of my abilities. I try to always do a little bit of research before I do my podcast, so that way you guys don't think I'm just making stuff up. I try to be very, very careful with the information that I bring you guys. So some of the positive traits like a Taurus, people really like us for our stability, and they find comfort in our consistency. We are really stuck in a routine. There's no doubt about that one there. And I'm saying this is just a general Taurus. Not all Tauruses have these characteristics, but the vast majority of us do. But we're actually to be considered the anchor of the zodiac because of our stability and our routine and comfort and consistency. We like the same things over and over and over again. Now, yes, that can get to be very, very. If you're dating a Taurus, it can be a little tough to break them out of their comfort zone because we are so attached to that comfort zone because that's what keeps us grounded, rooted, and that allows us to help others and be there for them. So one thing that people really, really like about us is our stability because no matter what's going on around us and what's falling apart, we pretty much just persevere through it and we can pull anybody through that we need to. Another trait another positive trait is honesty. We pretty much value honesty above all else. We know when you are trying to pull a fast one over on us. I don't know if we got some sort of better intuition than other people. But one thing that I've learned is I can see through somebody if they are lying to me before they even start. There's just something about it that I can read a person pretty darn well. It's probably why I was pretty good in management for hiring and firing and stuff there. I could see through people's BS, for lack of better words. I apologize for that, but I don't know how else to put it. And if you start basically coming across to us and start spoofing us, there's really no way that you're going to ever keep us as a friend because we value honesty, being upfront. I would much rather have you tell me if something's bothering you. I would much rather you tell me about it so I can correct it so I don't bother you anymore. I want to be there for you. I want to help you in any way, shape, or form. So honesty to us, is everything. Another thing that basically that we are, Turians don't shy away from hard work. We do whatever it takes to get the job done. If anytime that I've had a project at work, I dig in. I do the absolute best that I can, and nothing stops me until I get there. But the problem is, one thing that goes along with that is, and this is probably more of a negative trait, is we're perfectionists. It has to be a certain way. It has to be perfect. And that can drive you mad so fast. Let's be honest. And I am. And I know anybody that comes into my house and stuff there, everything has to be a certain way. But to me, like I've told before, it's a matter of stability for me. It helps me stay grounded. And I know it drives my friends and family and my son, drives them crazy because everything has to be a certain way. But it's the only way that I can find to stay centered and stay grounded so I can be there for them and help them through all their, turbulent times and everything else. So for me, if you need somebody that's going to back you up in a project, you're going to want to find a Taurus because we work from sun up to sundown and a little bit more if you have to. We have quite a tenacity about getting the job done, and we get it done right. So if you want somebody that's going to really pull the weight in your any project that you have, either at work, home, doesn't matter what it is, Tauruses are pretty good ones to have in your corner. Another thing that we do, being that we're an earth sign, we enjoy all the things luxurious and cozy. Work hard and play hard actually is probably the best way to describe us. The only thing is we like the finer things in life, and we know how to relax and have a good time, but I've seen many times where I'll spend extra money on comfort things around the house, and sometimes the checkbook says, hey, you don't have this, but I want that extra blanket, or I want that extra, the pottery, or a different rug for the living room, or something like that there. It's just when you come home, and I've been told many times, people that come into my home, they feel very comfortable, they feel very warm, they feel very welcoming. and that's the way we like to keep things. And I've known quite a few Tauruses, and we're all the same way. We just have a certain, it's just a comfort zone, and we like setting it up to, and we do. I mean, there's let's be honest and stuff. There's times that I can find myself spend all day in my chair under a blanket watching movies or watching binge watching a show that I like. We like that, but when we work hard, and we're all in. We're 110% in from morning to night. Doesn't matter what it is. But once that's done, then we go to the other way, and we like to play. We like to settle down. We like to make sure that we have a cozy area, I guess is a way to say it. And it kind of shocked me because before I realized, and I did a lot of reading on the Taurus sign. I did all these things, and that's the part that kind of really caught me off guard is when I started to read up on this stuff. It's like, holy cow, this really describes me quite well. I didn't realize it did. But so when you start reading into your sign, and I know there's going to be people out there, they probably have already shut off this episode because like, I don't believe in all that stuff, and that's fine. And I'm not trying to convince you otherwise. It's completely up to you. But this is where I started to figure out who I was, and I'm hoping it'll help you too. Negative Taurus traits, trust me, we have them. Our incredible stubbornness is what everybody knows us for. As soon as you say bull, they automatically know that we're stubborn. We're very set in our ways, and I'm not big on change. I'll be honest. I can handle it, but when at home, I don't like change. I like to keep everything the same. At work, there's so much change, and you're always fluctuating, and always you have to change. Is just the way of the world. But at home, I try to keep it the same old as much as I can. And a lot of people have thanked me for it because it gives them stability. And I said that's why I do it, is because it gives me stability, and I can make it through another day out in that rough world. Another one, some Taurians aren't fond of authority. And I find myself bucking the system from time to time. I don't do quite as much anymore since I'm getting older. You just start realizing that, okay, you got to kind of pick your battles. So before, oh man, when I was young, I was not fond of authority. You couldn't tell me anything to do. If you told me to do it this way, I would purposely go and do it the other way, just because that's the way we are. So, if you are a Taurus and you find yourself fighting an uphill battle and challenging authority, well, that's one of our negative traits, unfortunately. And like another one that I said there, we're huge perfectionists. Nobody can be perfect. I mean, it's just not absolutely possible. But for some reason, us Taurians, we love to be perfectionists. We like everything a certain way. And like I discussed here just a minute ago about my home, everything has a certain way. And I know my son, he purposely goes through the house and moves something just a little bit, just to see how long it would take me to figure out that something's been moved. And of course, it doesn't take long because I know exactly how everything is in my house. And I've talked to other Tauruses, and they're the same way. They say it just drives them nuts, and other people have done that to them. I said it's just, I guess it's just who we are. I do my best to try to, not be that way and drive them over the edge, but sometimes it's just like, that's just who I am. I'm sorry. I can't help it. Another thing that, towards romantic relationships to us, just so you know, if you're interested in trying to hook up with a Taurus, hopefully this helps a little bit there. We are very, very passionate and very, very trusting, very, very loyal. But I'm going to tell you this right now, we don't rush into a relationship with just anyone. We have certain standards, I guess, and we want things a certain way. And I'm not trying to say we're snobby in any way. It's just for some reason we want to make sure that who we're getting involved with is somebody that we want to get involved with. And when we go all in, we go all in. There's no happy medium with us. It's either we're not interested or we're completely dedicated to you. There's no happy medium, but it takes time for us to actually move into the I'm all in. So like me, when I fall in love, I fall hard. There's no tiptoeing into the water. It's either I'm out of the water or I'm into the deep end. There's no happy medium. And I've learned that's kind of a Taurus trait there that it's an all-in type of thing. So if you're thinking about dating a Taurus, be very, very careful. You know it's going to take some time to get through to us. Just know that, expect some stubbornness from us. I mean, you just have to expect that. That's just who we are. Another thing that I've noticed is if you're interested in being like even a partner of mine, get ready to answer some grilling questions, because I want to know who I'm getting involved with. And I have no problem sitting down. I love deep conversations. I want to know what makes you you, your idiosyncrasies, your quirks. I want to know all of that stuff. And that's a very, very popular Taurus trait, is we want to know exactly who you are, and we go all in with it. So that's why I said we're either nothing or we're all in for. So if you're thinking about getting involved with a Taurus, just get ready to beat your head against the wall, because I know my family and friends, they have said many, many times that they'll tell me something, then they'll go over and they said, well, we're just going to beat our head into a wall because we're going to get more results than getting through your thick skull. And they're absolutely right. And I try very, very hard to be open-minded, and I am, but once I make my mind up on something, good luck trying to get me to change, because it's pretty much, okay, this is what I'm doing. And even if it runs me in the ground and I lose everything, I have a tendency just to stick to my guns at that point, because it's kind of like that's who I am. That's one aspect that I used to learn who I was after I got out of my divorce and stuff there, out of my marriage. Another thing is that you can dig into, in which I did not know this. This one took me some time, and it took me a lot of learning, but your personality type. And once I took, it's called the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, and you can just take it online and you answer a bunch of questions about who you are, your likes, your dislikes, your thoughts and stuff. And I have to say, if you want to learn who you truly are, take this Myers-Briggs Type Indicator test. It blew me away. There's 16 possible types of personality traits, and that's where the introvert comes in and the extrovert comes in. There's 8 different extrovert ones, and there's 8 different introvert ones. And let me tell you, once you start digging into your personality traits, you're going to learn so much about yourself so fast. And once I started reading up on this, it scared the heck out of me. I'll be very, very honest. It plucked me to a T. And it's not only did I take the test online. At my last job, my boss said there, for his management, we all had to take a personality test, because he wanted to know where we fell in at, to make sure that he could make the best team that he could. And with all the management that he had, everybody was extroverts, every bit of them. And that's typical in management, because normally as an extrovert, you got to be very outgoing, you got to be very upbeat, you got to be, kind of loud a little bit, because that's what a manager is, and that's what an extrovert is. There's nothing wrong with that, though. They help us get through. But I was the only introvert on his management staff, and I was just very closed off, and I've always been very closed off, very quiet, keep to myself. Tell me what you need done, I'll get it done. I don't need all the pomp and circumstance that goes along with it. And the guy that was telling me that took the test, because we took the test, and then the next day he came back with all the results, and he sat down and he says, I'm going to tell you who you are. And I said, I know I'm an INFJ. So I said, you're wasting your time telling me about the test. And he goes, how did you know that? And I said, because I've already taken the test. I've spent years researching personality traits, and I know who I am. So I said, whatever you think you're going to tell me, I said, I already know. And I said, I'll tell you things that you probably don't know. And I ended up sitting there and gotten in an argument with this guy for about 15 minutes. He kept trying to tell me who I was. And I said, that's not who I am. I said, this is what a true INFJ. I said, I don't know where you're getting your information, but it's not correct. I said, I don't know how you can be giving the test out and not know exactly what a personality trait is. And he ended up getting mad and walked out of the room. And it's like, don't tell me who I am. I know who I am because I've done research. And the personality trait that I come up to is called INFJ, which is introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. I'm known as an advocate, and less than 1% of the population of the world is an INFJ. It is the rarest personality trait out there. And we have a tendency to approach life with deep thoughtfulness and imagination. Their inner vision, personal values, and a quiet, principled version of humanitarianism guide them all into things. Advocates, basically, we fight for what we think. We see the world in a very idealistic way. And that's why it's probably why I do everything so positive in my podcast, is because we're advocating for a better way of life, a simpler way of life, where everybody gets along. And I know that's kind of, everybody says, well, all I want is world peace. Well, yeah, of course, we all want world peace. But for some reason, we take that a step further. For people like us, success doesn't come from money or status. To me, a title does not mean anything. But what basically, for me to get fulfillment from my life, I help others. I do everything to do as much good as I can in the world. That's why, I try to have the personality, the podcasts and stuff. They're kind of like the candle in the window, where there's always a glimmer of hope out there. And that's kind of how I want my podcast to come across. We're not just idle people. We go out and do whatever we can. I try to donate as much as I can. I try to volunteer as much as I can. And I'm always trying to do more. Like when I opened my last business, was all designed to help out the artists of the area, the authors in our area, trying to get their works out, because the people that were part of my art shop were phenomenal. I had 37 artisans and authors that were in my shop, and they were all remarkable, absolutely remarkable. I miss working with all of them. To see that we would sit down and so that I could sell their artwork, I wanted to know about them. So we would actually sit down for a half hour, an hour, and they would have some coffee and I'd have my Mountain Dew. And we would sit down and talk. So that way, when people would come into my shop, I could say, this is what this artist is. This is how they see it. This is why their artwork is a certain way. Or the authors that we did. We had author days and stuff where you could come in and meet your local author and get your book signed for free and stuff. And I'm hoping someday to be able to start that business back up again, because there's so much talent in this world. And I think if you can put that talent together, it was very positive. We had so many people that would come in and they loved the shop. They just felt so pumped up, so electrified once they left. And that's one thing that I tried to do. Being that I'm an advocate, I was always trying to fight for everybody there to get their artwork out, get their personalities out, because they were such amazing people, and I miss working with them every day. We'd have a tendency of a very, very strong right from wrong as an advocate. We try to always do the right thing. I do I try not to break the law anymore. I don't have to. I know that sounds bad. I try to uphold my word to be the very best. And I know as men, our word means everything. So I try to, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. If I say that I won't do something, then typically I won't. But I try to do everything I can. Even sometimes I'll overextend myself when trying to help people. For the most part there, I'll take it on the chin. I'll get smacked around. I ended up losing my business thanks to COVID, and I was helping these people out. We were doing good. We were gaining ground. We were selling stuff, having lots of fun. And then COVID hit, and then took my business away from me because I couldn't afford to stay open anymore. But during that whole time, I got to work with some brilliant, brilliant people. I mean, they're amazing artisans. And I'm looking forward to getting back into the world again and working with them and talking to them. And hopefully someday I'll have the extra money that I can get going on that again. But an INFJ is just we're introverted. So to have an introverted business owner is kind of a contradiction of terms, unless you're like a librarian or something small, run a bookshop, or a coffee shop would be fine, because typically that's pretty quiet, because we get overwhelmed pretty fast. But with my 30 plus years of management, I've learned how to basically how to be able to be an extrovert. Let me put it to you that way. I do have extrovert qualities, and that's what helps. You need that as a manager. So I've learned how to do it, but it drains me pretty fast. So I have to be really, really careful with it. But if you want to know if you really want to get started on learning who you are, I think this would probably be the first step, is take the Myers-Briggs test. It's incredible. You can just go online, just type in Myers, MYERS -BRIGGS, and it'll come right up and you can take. Now I'm telling you right now, be 100% honest on your answers, because it isn't going to do any good to lie, because then you're going to get a wrong answer. If you really want to dig into this and you really want to find out who you are, I recommend that you take this test, because I didn't know anything about it. I stumbled across it when I was learning, like I said, I fired up Google and I was learning, who I was, and I stumbled across this test. I had never heard of a personality trait test before that. I had no idea. And then to go in, and I've taken the test several times, and every time it comes up as an INFJ, which is the rarest personality type that's out there. So, and I'm lucky because one of my friends is an INFJ and she comes across that way. All my friends basically are all introverted. Now, and I'm blessed to have them in my life. I consider them family. And we help each other out. That's why we hang out on Friday nights, is because it's not loud, it's not overwhelming. We can talk, we can be ourselves. But an INFJ just know, whatever personality type you pop up as and come across as, do some research into it, read into it, learn about it, because trust me, it's worth your time to figure out who you are again. This was a huge stepping stone for me. When I went through this and I learned, it was like, holy cow, this is really cool. It helped me. It gave me the direction that I needed. It gave me the platform to jump off of to learn who I was. This was a phenomenal way of learning. And I can't stress this one enough. If you want to go back to the book and you want to do some self-introspection and you want to learn who you are, I recommend you start right here at the Myers-Briggs test, and it will help you. And like I said, do not answer the questions 100% honest. Don't try to outthink the test. Don't try to think, well, this is what I really want to be, so I'm going to answer the questions that way. Don't do it that way. Take the test and answer honestly, and take your time going through it, because it's going to ask you some hard questions. But once you get through it and you find out who you are, start digging into it, start reading in. You'd be surprised on how much it will. It'll actually really, really help you. So for like us, an advocate and an INFJ, some of our strengths, we're very creative, and you're going to learn about this too. Advocates aren't exactly like everyone else. It's a wonderful thing. People with this personality type embrace their creative side, and that's probably why I do the podcast, because it's a way for me to get out and talk to you guys while still staying, as introverts, we are very closed off. So this allows me to talk to you guys and be part of your lives, and you get to be part of mine, which I think is phenomenal, and I absolutely love it. Another strength we have is we're very insightful. INFJs know all too well that appearances can be misleading. Advocates strive to move beyond superficiality and seek out the deeper truths in life. And that is so true, because I hate small talk. It drives me nuts. I want to sit down with you and I want to dig in very, very deep. I want to know your likes, your dislikes, your quirks, your everything. Some of the secrets that you've never told anybody else, because I don't violate that trust. When you tell me something, it gets locked up in a vault, and that's where it stands. But that also, being that we're so insightful, it also gives us almost an uncanny ability to understand people's true motivations, feelings, and needs. And it's very, very true. We can see through. If you're trying to put up a smoke screen, we can actually see through it. Another strength that we have, we're principled. Advocates tend to have strong beliefs and values, particularly when it comes to matters of ethics. And that I have to admit, I'm very, very strong on. Right and wrong, good and bad, I've got it all. This is the way it is. Very passionate. We sense purpose in life. We don't go with the status quo. We do our own thing. We push forward. And if it's something that we truly believe in, we hit it with every ounce of energy that we have. We're very, very passionate about it. That's, if we're out volunteering or helping people or in our relationships, yeah, you're not going to get somebody that's more passionate than us. It's pretty incredible. And trust me, it's there's a lot going on. Some of our weaknesses that we have, just so you know, we're sensitive to criticism. Advocates we don't do well. I mean, we're okay with feedback, but the more negative it is, we take it pretty hard, because we think we've done something wrong, and we offended somebody, and it really, really bothers us. So we're sensitive to criticism. I still want to hear it personally, but sometimes it can hit a little hard to hit close to home. We're reluctant to open up. It takes quite a while for us to start talking, but once we open up, it's like, whew, it's like a whole ocean is just flowing. We're perfectionists. And like I said with the Taurus, and this is tough because as a Taurus, I'm a perfectionist. As an INFJ, I'm a perfectionist. And I think that's why I drive my family just teetotal and crazy, because everything has to be a certain way, like I said before. We avoid the ordinary. We try to do something different all the time. And it's just kind of like my podcast. It's like I never dreamed of doing a podcast before. I didn't know how to do it. I just started out and just started talking. And thank goodness you guys were listening, because it really helped. And hopefully it's something. So to me, that was out of my comfort zone, out of the ordinary. Another weakness we have, the last one, is we're prone to burnout. Mainly because we'll do whatever we can to help others. We'll overextend ourselves. We'll be there for them. Sometimes we make so many commitments that when we really should say no, we say yes. So we burn ourselves out pretty fast. So you have to be really, really careful with that. But if you want to really learn who you are, learn your personality trait, your type, and I think it'll shock you once you start digging in a little bit. It shocked the heck out of me. I spent a lot of time. I read so many articles on this. And it just continues, even now. I mean, I've been reading up on it now for almost 15 years, and it still continues to surprise me. I still learn something new all the time. Okay, the last thing that I want to talk about today is my life path number. And this is another great one to get started with. If you're going to do your personality type, I would say start there. And then your next step would be your life path number. And life path numbers, basically, it's a different way of looking at things. Like mine's a 9, and if you want to calculate your life path number, basically it goes off of your birthday. So, for example, I'm just using a number here and stuff here. If your birthday is November 2nd, 1998, or 11/2/1998, you would add the 1, 2, 1, 9, 9, 8 equals 31. Then you keep adding until you get to a single digit. In this case, you add the 3 and the 1 because it totaled 31. And when you add 3 and 1, your life path number is 4. Mine is a 9. And life path 9 is one of insight, generosity, emotion, compassion, awareness, interpretation, diversity, and strength. 9 contains a little bit of all the numbers, as well as many unique characteristics of its own. Its influence makes you versatile and unusual. When 9 is considered basically like kind of like a pinnacle, because it's the last single digit. There's I think 13 life path numbers. I think 11 or 13. It's an incredible once you start learning and you start digging into this. This is another way of learning who you are. 9s are, basically, it goes along with the INFJ. When I started learning about this here and stuff, some of the characteristics started to kind of flow together. It really. It kind of caught me off guard, if you want to know the truth, because this one this one's going to get a little bit further into the stars, so this one might be a little bit harder for you to grasp, or it might be like too far out there for you. But one thing about life path 9s is we're very, very giving. We dig in. We're classified, I don't know if you're familiar with the term, is basically like an old soul. If you believe in reincarnation, this is really where you're gonna kind of jump into, because old souls have basically lived all the path numbers. When you get to the path number 9, it's the last number you are basically before you're done, because rumor has it you come back, you might live as a 1, you might live as an 11 or a 13 or a 7 or anything like that there. But when you get to the life path 9, basically they're saying you've lived all the other ones, you've learned all that you can, you've seen things from so many different directions. The weird part is you kind of, and I know people are going to just freak out when they hear this one here, but there's times that I know things and I don't know how I know them, but I know them, and I know it's true, and I know it works. And that's because I've lived so many other lives, and this is, you're getting real deep now, and that's why I saved this last one here, because it's probably I'm gonna lose some people at this one here. I'm sure they're gonna shut off the podcast after this one here. But you get kind of almost like a deja vu feeling all the time, because it's like, hey, I know how to do that, or hey, I remember what happens here, and you may have never done it in your life. Well, you kind of draw on your other lives, and I don't understand. I'm still learning. I flat out admit I'm still researching my life path number, and I've been researching it for years, and I'm still learning new things all the time. For basically the way they say it is, nines are old souls that have lived many lifetimes. Haven't you ever wondered why nothing really shocks you? And that's true. When I started reading that, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, and it really doesn't catch you off guard. It's because you've seen and done it all before. You've existed in every form, color, race, creed, gender, and circumstance. You have traveled every walk of life. It doesn't mean that you've learned everything by any way, shape, or form. But what basically it is it's allowing you to see things from a different point of view, a different vantage point. And the more that I learn and the more I go on with life, you get those things. And my family is like, well, look at me in time, well, how do you know that? And there's times I honestly, I don't know how I have the answer. I just have the answer. And it all has to do with, I think, my life path number, because you, like I said, you've lived many other lives. You've been down the road. You've seen it from different things. The number 9 basically is a very, very giving number. And I think that helps me with my podcast and stuff there, because I want to help everybody. I want to be there for everybody as much as I possibly can. And I accept people for who they are and how they are. It doesn't matter to me, because I think it's beautiful that everybody is their own person. They do their own thing. They say their own thing. I think it's fantastic. And you get to be you. And that's one thing that's nice about this country, is you get to be you. As long as you don't infringe on somebody else's rights, but you get to be you. You get to explore who you are and what makes you who you are. And as a 9, I think that helps us basically see things from another thing. It leaves us to basically be able to adapt to certain situations, instead of, which that part is a little different, because as a Taurus, we're very stuck and very rigid in routine. And then I have my life path number 9 that allows me to adapt and change very, very easily to make somebody else happy, or to a situation, which is probably why it allowed me to be a good manager and be there for my team and do everything I can to help them. But it's when you start digging into your life path number, and you don't have to figure it out manually. There's plenty of, you just go online and there's plenty of websites that'll automatically do it. You put in your birth date and boop, done. It'll give you the information that you need. But they say basically, as a life path 9, is there's very little that you can't handle, mainly because we've been down the roads with so many different other things. We've lived so many different ways in lives. We've been through so much. We can handle through so much. Not a lot really bothers us. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, we got this. We can get through it. And that I draw on my Taurus side of my stability and my rock solidness. And it allows me to basically just kind of see the world at a little bit different vantage point than what other people see. Now, I know this is the life path number is very deep, and you're probably wondering, okay, Sean, you just pretty much just went right off the deep end. But trust me, once you start digging into this, all of this stuff, and there's so many more things out here, I just don't have enough time in this podcast to just start discussing. I mean, I could probably have 12 podcasts and not cover everything that you could learn about yourself after you've ended a relationship, whether that's, just a friendship or just a divorce, or however you want to put it. It's completely up to you. You just ended a relationship. But I can't express enough there basically to dig in and learn about yourself, because like some of the qualities like a life path 9, and you're going to learn, is we're very independent. We know who we are. We can adapt to change. We lead our own lifestyle. Creativity, we're very, very creative. And I'm good with this. I'll be honest, I can't draw, I can't paint. So this one, I can do my podcast and I can write. So that's my creativity. Another one is freedom from gaining experience from learning from mistakes. We like to travel. We're very responsible. We like being dependent upon. We like being there for everybody else. Wisdom, inner development, spirituality, and knowledge. We're always trying to learn new things, so that way we can help other people. And that's what I do constantly with my podcast, is I'm always trying to learn new things to help you guys out. Satisfaction, basically helping other people there and stuff there get to where they need to be, give them whatever they need, so that way they feel they have a smile on their face and they feel they can handle another day out in the world. Completion, following your feelings of free will, basically knowing what you did is going to help somebody and be there for them. Those are just some, there's so many different qualities that the life path, and when you dig into your own life path number, you're going to see so many different things. And it's like, and I've told all my family have taken the test, and they were equally as shocked as I was once they started reading up on their life path number. I've had other friends, people, coworkers that I've worked with, they've researched their life path number. It has plucked off every single person for their personality traits and everything. So those are the three things that if you want to figure out who you are and where you wanted to get started, the first one is you're going to want to get into your sign. I think that'll be a very, very good thing for you. The next one that you're going to want to get into is your personality type. Remember, Myers-Briggs personality type. You can go online and get it. Anybody will tell you, it'll figure out the number for you. And then your life path number, I think, is a great place. That's getting really, really deep. I suggest starting with the other two and then getting into your life path number, because that one there you can get pretty crazy with real fast. There's a lot of information, and I think it's all fantastic. It's a way of expanding your mind and seeing things from a different way and learning who you are, because I think once you get out of a relationship, it's good to reinvent yourself, become a new person. Sometimes don't go back into this, we all have habits that aren't really, really good for us. Try not to fall back into them. Learn and grow. Use some of the things that you got from the relationship there. Take the good things with it. There's nothing wrong with that. And make yourself a better person. Be there for other people. Be helpful. Whatever it is, to try to make the world a little bit better place to live in. I think you'd be happier with yourself, and you'll be proud of yourself and how far you come, because I know you can do it, and I'd be proud of you for it. So hopefully I haven't lost too many people with this with this episode, because this one's kind of out there, but I thought it was a good place to start to help you learn who you were. And I really, really hope there's some information in this episode there that will help you get started. And if you have questions, you're more than welcome to email me at seangmorris@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to help wherever I can. If I've got an answer, I'll be more than happy to send that information along to you. Just know that you're unique, you're amazing, and you deserve to be happy in your life. Just don't close your mind off to other possibilities, because I think that's going to limit your recovery time and hinder your growth. Keep your mind open. Always be learning, new things out there. There's always something out there. Explore a little bit. And I honestly think you'll be happier yourself by doing it. So, okay, I'm going to end the podcast here. I'm noticing by the clock on my monitor here that I'm over in time again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this podcast with the dad joke of the day. So if you're ready to go and you're ready to groan and let the eye rolls happen, here we go. Why do you never see elephants hiding in trees? Because they are so good at it. I thought that was great. Thanks so much for listening. You guys are amazing. Remember to share, like, subscribe to my YouTube page. It all helps. We can help as many people as we can. And as always, all my love and support